Following on from 1432D, this is E. Not only then is liberal democracy not safe, the principle of democracy is not safe in a world of controlled media. And of course, if it's not controlled, then someone may take control of it and steer public opinion accordingly. But the concept of being liberal is not safely liberal, in that which secures liberality is necessarily dogmatic. It cannot abide illiberality. Politics has been seen as how groups make decisions despite a variety of views and values. Which values are to influence how and who those decisions are made by, be it kings or committees or and so forth. It concerns then how decisions are made and by who. But that depends on not just what is already held and thought, but how those with influence affect the decisions that are being made. Some organizational structures encourage some influences over and above others, to dominate. And the ability to have control of such is major in what the outcomes are. If an individual does not have influence on the public media, then he will not have influence on the final decision, albeit that decision being condoned by some sort of majority individual vote on the matter. Because, quite simply, the other arguments have not been heard, given their due weight and understanding, whatever that might be considered to be. So we dismiss certain people as insane, for instance, or not having the right to vote. We might not give criminals the right to vote, or we might. We may exclude them. We may exclude the insane. We may even proxy vote on behalf of others that are considered too intact to make decisions on their own behalf. Or we may simply just exclude them in the process. We may exclude certain views as being heretical, stroke non-PC, from influencing the media and therefore being heard. We may have a system of debate that majorly favours those that control the instruments of propaganda and media. Communication. We may have a lack of protection of people from intimidation of others in what they're allowed to say and publicly declare and suggest for debate. Quite simply, we're saying there are power relationships going on in a society that determine the political process and what agenda is even considered, leave alone chosen on. The dictator that was feared was seen as a person who basically feathered his own nest at the cost and expense of others. The leader who was loved, if you like, the charismatic leader, was seen as one who acted in a way that was of benefit to the people at large. And this diversity of view is steered by the media fabric of the nation that we're concerned with, and critically, who has access to it. That decision may or may not be influenced by the bulk of the people, and will not be in a diverse society. Because the very diversity itself is an unequal distribution of power in such arena. In other words, decisions are not simply the consequence of, if you like, one person, one vote, but one influence versus another. And that's something one can't make democratic in the sense of equal weight to equal individuals. It simply is not equal. The eloquent may become charismatic and have a following that, if you like, is bewitched by such, or intimidated by such even, which can be a religious phenomena. I have the word of God, and if you don't follow what I say, you're in fear of eternal damnation. We do what the priesthood recommends. And they're controlled by a leader. Structurally embedded in the religion. Someone who has gained a position of authority and power within the structure, which is dominating the media in some societies, or perhaps in many. Or the public voice may be invested in an existing, not particularly religious monarch. Though he may use religion to strengthen his position. But it's not just individualism working through a religious structure in the society, but you can have non-religious structures too. Major corporations, perhaps. And societies, groups of people who form a body and majorly impact media, content, influence. So what's classified as a liberal democracy can be anything but democratic when it comes to its media. It's considered that a religion is deferring to a particular persona ascribed to God, and the wielding of such image greatly affects decision-making among the populace that are influenced by such membership or association. Is it then the case that all groups within a society constitute a challenge to the equality of influence that individuals would otherwise have? Now, the whole point about modern society is that we specialize into groups identified by similarities of people. You know, there are professional bodies, there are corporate institutions, societies, religions. Each becomes more significantly powerful than the individual in a society. And determine the outcome of its politics, the structure of its politics. Just as we respect legally certain entities as persons, limited liability companies and so on, registered societies, they have a legal persona. So all these groups in a society, whether they are recognized as personas or not, have an influence that majorly impacts both the agenda, politics, and the decisions made. Modern society is anything but democratic when it comes to this power distribution across entities that influence public opinion and decision making. Rather than simply individual people. in some Greek crowd voting by a show of hands. Who's calling the vote, and in what circumstances it's being presented and discussed, the rhetoric of the speakers and so on, the charisma of various speakers, is everything to the outcome of the show of hands. The show of hands is just the show. The influence is extremely undemocratic. Not sure as you can do much about that. Our societies produce groups that become particularly powerful. We don't have a marketplace of groups that have no power other than individually all the members voting in some system. The system itself produces groups that have tremendous power in the political process. You can stop a group influencing as regards having its own vote. You know, early on, only landowners could vote. It obviously biased the outcome of politics to landowners' values and views. But of course, if it wasn't a secret vote, then the individuals even then couldn't vote freely for fear of the existing monarch and so on. Power is the ability to influence decisions. And leaders of your groups within societies may have enormous power depending on their position in the structure of the societies that they're in and the position of these societies in the structure of the society itself. We may be being ruled by an official monarch or a parliamentary system or some hybrid of both, landowners, corporate entities. Power complexities like different government areas, the military, the medical, the scientific, the educational, the security system, police and judiciary and such, courts. So we have a notion in forming of many constitutions, like the American Constitution, officially sort of written and declared, which tries to predetermine a structure that will limit the dominance, in a sense, of these groups within a society. Landowners, business holders, wealth holders, charismatic persons and so on. It can be seen, the political structure then, as resulting in an ongoing war of such groups against the restrictions of the Constitution. And of course we can find, each of them's trying to find a way of outmaneuvering such structure to allow them greater influence. Regardless, in such a system, a particularly strong leader may emerge, perhaps a military junta or whatever, and impose its view of what it wants politically on the society. So that on the surface they may have happily historically acceptable value system that's in charge, whilst being outwitted by power holders that majorly self-interested or interested in a particular value system that's quite alien to the man in the street, who's disempowered by his ignorance of the existence of such a group or individual. And this is a concern that leads to what might be dismissed as conspiratorial qualms that are not PC and not to be attended to.